Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The regular session of the Craven County Board of Commissioners, Monday, December 4th, is now in session. If you'd turn off all your phones or put them on silent ring. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Jones,
Here.
Commissioner Liner,
Here.
Commissioner McCabe,
Here.
Commissioner Sampson,
Here.
Commissioner Tyson,
Here.
Vice Chairman Dacey,
Here.
Chairman Mark.
Here. Thank you. If we'd stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You please bow your heads. Lord Father, we are gathered here tonight to conduct your business and the business of the people of this county. Lord, we are a diverse group, but in our hearts we have one thing in common, and that's to do the best we can for this community and for this state. Lord, we ask you to reach down and guide us. Let us make sound and good decisions, oh Lord. Lord, I ask you to be with our first responders as they respond to each and every day. Keep them safe and return to their families. Lord, I ask you to be with our military, both those forward deployed and those at home and their families. Watch over them, protect them, and guide them. Lord, I ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen. You've had an opportunity to look over the agenda. Are there any corrections or additions to the agenda? If there are no corrections, I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Next on the board is, I'm going to put in chairman's privileges here right now. And as this is the last meeting for the chairman on the board, December the 4th, I just want to talk about how great it has been, number one, to work with all of these gentlemen and have their help and guidance, and especially our staff, the county manager, assistant county manager, the county clerk, and county executive secretary. Without them, we couldn't do the things that we do, including the finance director, because he's a very valuable part of this organization. But I just want to talk about some of the things that have been accomplished this year. Number one, we completed a new Craven County water treatment facility, cost of $31 million. We completed a water line extension in Township 7, extension work in Craven County Animal Shelter, an enhancement made to allow for additional space for the animals. We had our solar facility ordinance update, and hopefully we'll have the animal control ordinance update done. Successful program of Connect, where we reached out to all the citizens of the county at our convention center, which was handled by Jack Veit, our county manager, and his assistant county manager. They did a fabulous job, and we found that most of the people appreciated that. We held a opioid awareness leadership forum, which we hosted, which we had 91 of the elected officials at, and we'll talk about that more later tonight. New security enhancement in Craven County Courthouse, Hurricane Matthew recovery efforts. We had the creek snagging project in the county-wide, which has certainly helped our flooding problems. Beaver control, we did a lot of that in the county also. Purchased new financial software package for implementation this past September 11th for the county. Economic development, Bosch expansion of 2 buildings. New road construction in the Executive Parkway and cul-de-sac in the industrial park. New picnic shelter at Creekside Park, add emergency medical dispatch capabilities for our 9/11, work collaboratively with 17 and 70 Commission to increase the number of roads improvements that were done on Highway 70 and that will be done on Highway 17. And funding enhanced the capabilities of the sheriff for drug reinforcement, completed transportation development plans for carts, continued implementation of Northeast for the economic development, increased funding for technology in schools. I had the privilege this morning to go up to our West Craven High School, where those students all received, 950 students received iPads, so that they will be working and doing their homework and their schoolwork on iPads. And we had a tremendous applause. It was just unbelievable. I mentioned to them that I couldn't be in a better place than be with them this morning, because it was a happy bunch of students. All of this has been accomplished without increasing the taxes to our citizens. And I feel proud about that, and I feel proud to serve with a group of commissioners that are fiscally responsible. And with that, I'll turn the meeting over to our attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you're aware, state law requires the board to elect a new chairman and vice chairman at its first regular meeting in December, and it's the custom of this board that the county attorney conducts those elections in the following manner. In a moment, I'll open the floor for nominations for chairman. Nominations do not require a second. When there appears to be no more nominations, then we will have a motion, second, and vote to close nominations. And assuming that more than one person has been nominated, then we will conduct a roll call vote. Yes, sir, Commissioner Liner.
After hearing the tremendous amount of work this leadership has done, if he's willing to accept, I renominate Commissioner Mark for chair.
All right.
I accept.
The floor is open then, and we begin with nomination of Commissioner Mark. Are there any other nominations? If not, I'll entertain a motion that we close nominations.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Well, I guess by acclamation, Chairman Mark, you've been elected chairman again.
Thank you
Congratulations.
very much. Thank you very much. You have to swear me in?
Yes.
Yeah, because you lost all that privilege.
Starting at zero again,
I,
Name,
Thomas Mark,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and maintain
that I will support and maintain
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution and laws
and the Constitution and laws
of North Carolina,
of North Carolina,
not inconsistent therewith,
not inconsistent therewith,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
as chairman
as chairman
of the Craven County Board of
of
Commissioners.
the Craven County Board of Commissioners. I, Thomas Mark,
Will faithfully and truly,
will faithfully and truly,
according to the best of my skill and ability,
according to the best of my skill and ability,
execute the duties of the office of chairman of the Board
execute the duties of the chairman of the Board
of Commissioners
of Commissioners
of Craven County,
of Craven County,
so help me God.
so help me God. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, would you like me to conduct the election
It's
of
up
vice
to me,
chair?
huh? All right, I would like to make a motion that we, a motion to make Scott Dacey the vice chair.
Second that motion.
Are there any other nominations? If not, I'll entertain a motion that nominations be
So
closed.
moved.
Any discussion? All in favor say, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations, Commissioner Dacey. You've been elected vice chairman for the following year.
Cut the heat down when you go out there, Scott. It's hot in here.
Oh, boy.
Hi. Scott Dacey.
Do
Do
solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support and maintain
that I will support and maintain
the Constitution and laws of the United States
the Constitution and laws of the United States
and the Constitution and laws of North
and
Carolina,
the Constitution and laws of North Carolina,
not inconsistent therewith,
not inconsistent therewith,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of my office as Vice Chairman
as my office as Vice Chairman
of the Craven County Board of
of
Commissioners.
the Craven County Board of Commissioners.
I
I, Scott Dacey,
will faithfully,
will faithfully and truly,
according to the best of my
according to the
Yeah, no.
best of my
skill and ability,
skill and ability,
execute the duties of the office
execute the duties of the office
of Vice Chairman
of Vice Chairman
of the Board of
of the
Commissioners
Board of Commissioners
for Craven County,
for Craven County,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Lord have mercy.
Hey, Bob, send me a copy of this.
Oh, both of them are crying.
Thank you so much.
Only
Congratulations.
do this once a year, man. You gotta prompt us better.
By the way, Commissioner Jones is on the phone, and thank you, Commissioner Jones.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, next on the agenda is public hearing on animal control. Do we have a motion to go into public hearing?
So moved.
Everybody in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are now in public hearing.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, Tyker Gonzalez. And of course, there is no time limit on those that are speaking during the public hearing, so have fun.
So we have till Christmas, is that correct?
No, let's not go that far.
Tyker Gonzalez, 125 Turkey Quarter Creek Road, Cove City. Good evening. I was present during your last work session when discussions commenced about changes to the new animal ordinance, which is to take effect on January 1st. In those discussions, all were 100% consensus on proposed changes to the ordinance, except on two particular topics: constant water access and shade other than a doghouse. While literally dozens of other North Carolina counties have addressed both of these items clearly with the wording provided to you in their ordinances, this board could not come to an agreement. The current wording you have placed in the ordinance at this time is a death sentence. While I first thought it was an honest mistake or even a typo, I now know it was intentional. During our summers, it can reach over 100 actual degrees with the heat indices well over 110. When we take an animal and confine it in any manner, we limit its survival skills and instinct. We have total control of what it can and can't eat, what it can and can't drink, or if they can find a shelter with shade. This makes the owner solely responsible for the provisions of these life-sustaining needs. None of us could survive being chained or caged in the direct sun with no shade other than a 2x3 box or a barrel in that kind of heat, with water provided only twice in a 24-hour period, as the ordinance now specifies. What makes this board think an animal can? I have given you examples of dozens of laws from our state. I've given you petitions that 1,400 residents of this county have signed. I've given you photos of dogs in dire need from all over this county, proving there is a serious problem. Dr. Stephen Stelma, a local veterinarian and president of the North Carolina Veterinary Medical Association, has given you personal testimony about county pets suffering from these and other issues. Other county organizations have addressed you on the seriousness of these issues. And tonight, I bring you these statements from the entire veterinarian community of Craven County, asking for the wording to be changed to constant water access, removing the wording of twice in a 24-hour period, and shade other than a doghouse. These statements were sent out to all 10 veterinary clinics in this county on this issue, and every single clinic participated in signing these statements with a total of 21 individual veterinarian signatures. I have given a copy of each statement to Gwen for you all to have. The veterinarian statements read, I agree with the wording of the constant water access proposal to be placed in our county animal ordinance as a needed provision. I also agree that shade is a necessary provision in addition to a doghouse for dogs that are tethered and or penned or fenced in order to help keep their bodies at an appropriate temperature during warm or hot days. Dr. Robert Ridgway added to his statement, it is essential to help them maintain a healthy body temperature during hot sunny days. If in direct sunlight, any doghouse can quickly exceed safe temperature levels on warm or hot days. The doctors that have signed are Animal Care Center, Dr. Steve Stelma, Dr. Catherine Farrar, Dr. Marianne Leslie, Dr. Anthony Wachewski. Animal Hospital of New Bern, Dr. G.E. Willis, Dr. Robert Gutroff. Craven Animal Hospital, Dr. Bobby Katroba, Dr. Stacy Fisher, Equine Associates, Dr. Emily Gilmet, Dr. Rebecca White. Havelock Animal Hospital, Dr. Larry Paul, Dr. Kenneth Tapley, Dr. Lori Casera, Dr. Cash Trushke. Integrated Healing, Dr. Linnea Thiessen. Noose Veterinary Clinic, Dr. Fred Knowles. Pet Hospital of New Bern, Dr. Robert Ridgway, Dr. Susan Kinsey. 70 West Vet Hospital in Havelock, Dr. Jeffrey Ward. Synergy Innovative Vet Clinic, Dr. Alexis Verdari, Dr. Joyce Girardi. With all due respect, we have a serious problem with the hunting lobby attempting to stop any form of humane animal treatment across the board for animals in this county. This is why it has taken so very long to get something done here and why nothing has been done here for over 20 years. The vast majority of hunters agree with us, but the lobbyists do not. It was a Maine dissenting hunter on the tethering issue who helped me bring these changes to you. Please stop this here, now, and tonight. The citizens of this county are fed up with irresponsible pet owners and lawmakers who allow this to continue. Animals must have constant access to water and a shaded area other than a doghouse to survive. Their future suffering and deaths are now out of our hands and onto yours. Several comments were made by a board member that I am never satisfied. No, sirs. I'm not satisfied with this. The citizens of this county aren't satisfied with this. Neither are our veterinarians who signed these statements. Only certain members of this board and a hunting lobby are. What does that tell us? Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Terry Paul, I believe.
No, it's Larry.
Forgive me, I'm sorry.
It's Dr. Larry Paul. I'm from Havelock. I'm a veterinarian down there. I've practiced in Craven County for 37 years, was raised here as a boy. Felt the need to come tonight to speak about this, and we received a packet from Ms. Gonzalez, and I'd addressed the lack of having constant water in the ordinance. And I thought I may have a unique view of this since I had hunting dogs for around 30 years. Loved them. It's great fun. I do miss it. I say I'm a recovering deer hunter. I would make a comment to the Humane Society. I had the only spayed and neutered pack of hounds in North Carolina, I believe. And they perform beautifully. And I read this and I said, well, this seems a little unreasonable. You know, how can they provide constant water all the time? They're going to have to buy these elaborate systems. And initially I had a little problem. And wait a minute, how can they make shelter? It's going to be expensive. Probably some people in Craven County can't afford it. And if I was a commissioner, I'd be a little concerned about that. And then I thought, well, how did I handle the problem? All we need to do to have constant water is to have a container that is secure and the animal cannot turn over, that has more water in it than they can consume in 24 hours or however long I needed to come back and check on them. I took a 5-gallon bucket, secured it with a clip to the chain link fence. I could take it off and clean it. They had constant water forever. It was inexpensive, very easy to do. And I realized that probably if we put this in the ordinance, that the humans out there are going to figure out something just like I did that's inexpensive. And they can have water out there. They can have a big container. I've seen kiddie pools. So they can do anything they want to provide constant water. We just got to write it down, and I'm sure they'll come up with a solution. The same thing with the shade. My problem got hot, felt sorry for them. There was a $5 tarp at Lowe's that provides great shade. It'll hang around for about a month or two, and you got to buy you a new one. But they work great. I'd hang out there with them sometimes. It was so cool under that little piece of tarp. But it worked great for my dogs for years. And I think if we put that in there, then I think the people are going to use their ingenuity. They can put a piece of plywood on a 2x4. They can do anything simple. I bet you we'll have car hoods, pieces of plastic. We don't care what it looks like. We just want them to have a little bit of shade. I think if we just put this down, it will motivate people to go ahead and do the right thing. And I got to thinking about coming up here over the years, and why would we even want to do this rule? Young people are most of the people I see that come in and make mistakes, and the dog overheats. They didn't know it needed water. And if at least we write this down, maybe we can speed up that learning curve. If it's not written down, we kind of give them a green light to just do these things. So I don't see anything in there that's not reasonable. And I think if you think about it, I think they can do it with very little expense. And it wouldn't be a big burden on a person that wants to have a dog and have a place for them out there. So if you would just reconsider, I think it'd probably be a good idea. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, there are no additional names on our list.
Do I have a motion to go out of public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Next is the consent agenda, which consists of the minutes of November 20th. Petitions. Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, we do have petitions. Are there any petitions?
Yes, we have 6 individuals that have signed up. Are there any other individuals? I had this list presented to me before 7 o'clock. Are there any additional names? Okay, 6.
6, okay.
We're set with the clock. Susan Long?
Susan Long, 1990 Acorn Drive, New Bern, North Carolina. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for all your hard work. I did not realize all the things that you have achieved this year, and some of them are very outstanding. Love the iPad. Okay. This is a summary of many meetings about the ERA. We have been attending several commissioners' meetings, asking to pass a resolution urging the General Assembly to ratify the Equal Rights Amendment. We have presented data as to why this is important and how it could affect every woman in our country. We gave you a website which listed other counties and cities that have approved a resolution supporting North Carolina's adoption of the Equal Rights Amendment. Those places include Asheville, Elizabeth City, Dare County, Durham, Orange County, Winston-Salem, City Council, Duck, Nags Head, Manio, Kill Devil Hills, and Southern Shores. You formed a committee to research the ERA. You looked to see if any counties surrounding our area had adopted a resolution, of which you found none. You sent a letter to Raleigh. We know the amendment is sponsored by Representative Carla Cunningham and Senator Floyd McKissick. So here we are again tonight asking for your support. I dare say most of us love a superhero. I happen to like Spider-Man. Therefore, I am reminded of a quote from Spider-Man. With great powers come great responsibilities. You gentlemen have the power, and it is your responsibility to see to it that you use your power to the betterment of the people that you serve, which includes women. Your job is not an easy one. It requires tremendous thought and consideration of the impact your decisions will make on our community. You have an opportunity to make a positive impact on the women in Craven County by adopting this resolution. Can those of you who oppose the adoption of this resolution explain why you are not in favor of the amendment being ratified? And what if the tables were turned? Women were recognized in the Constitution as having equal rights, but men were left out. How would that make you feel? Would that make you pause and think, why am I not good enough to be considered equal? At every meeting, we stand and we recite the Pledge of Allegiance, which ends in justice for all. And I ask you, where is the justice for women? Thank you.
Richard Friend.
Chairman Mark, Commissioners, thank you for this opportunity to speak with you today. I've spoken with you several times over the past few months regarding a request by the Democratic women of Craven County that you pass a resolution endorsing the ratification of the Equal Rights Amendment by the state of North Carolina. As a citizen and resident of Craven County, I am puzzled by your reluctance to do so. As to your reluctance, we're all aware that a resolution by this body carries no legal authority and is strictly symbolic. Your passing this resolution changes no statute, regulation, or ordinance. Its passage produces no legal exposure to Craven County, sets no precedent, nor produces any legal authority. What it does do is informs the citizens that you represent of your opinion and position. If you do not believe that women deserve equal protection under the Constitution of the United States, then you're on the right track, and that's unfortunate. Your response is also troubling. It's my understanding that your response to this request by citizens you represent was to form a committee. That committee recommended that you send a request to Raleigh for something. I'm not sure what you're looking for, but I'm sure that Raleigh is the wrong place to look for it. For legal guidance in this matter, you have an attorney who I'm sure you have consulted. For ethical and moral guidance, you should be looking much closer to home. I would suggest you ask your wife, your daughters, your granddaughters, and of course, your constituents, many of whom are here tonight. They are the citizens you represent and to whom you are responsible, not anyone in Raleigh. Thank you.
Mr. Hal James.
Entirely different subject. I'm Hal James. I live at 305 Calico Drive in New Bern. And I've tried to understand several things in tonight's agenda. I found it a little bit confusing, and I wanted to explain that to you and ask you, on behalf of the CCJ and the tax-paying citizens, if we couldn't get a better explanation of some of these matters. The first one is the budget amendment that's Departmental Matters Health, and it's under A. It's on page 6. And it reads, we present the budget amendment contained in attachment 4A showing payback due to the division of medical assistance for the adjusted 2013 Medicaid cost settlement utilizing the new SPA state plan amendment, which are the rules that dictate how the cost settlement is done. The new SPA changed the way the health department determines how much of the cost can be attributed to Medicaid patients. So I guess it's paying the state back for Medicaid premiums, it sounds like. Then it says the original payback was $524,477. It goes on to say, however, the Craven County Health Department was able to apply 5 variables that significantly reduced the payment down to $30,294. I would say, yes, that's very significant. From $524,000 down to $30,000. And what kind of a shell game is that? I mean, I hate to use that term, but I don't know what they're talking about. And I don't think any citizen reading this would. And on the federally qualified health center update, they're expanding, as I knew they would, recently hiring a fourth provider. And it says they are doing really well, averaging 22 WIC patients, that the clinic is doing well. And they're adding new clients, 2 new clients that were not previously receiving WIC in our county. So I'm wondering, what are they doing? Going out and recruiting people to apply for WIC, I guess. And the last one, this is pretty brief, I hope. If you go back to the attachment that the health department provided, and let's look at the program adult primary care, and they have cumulative visits. They go back to the years FY14 and 15. They show July through February. And you can see each month it's going more and more and more, so I see what they mean by cumulative. You know, it includes the previous months of that year, that fiscal year. But what happened to March, April, May, and June? It's not complete. Or if it is, I don't understand it. And I think that we need to, the staff needs to do a better job of presenting things like this in such a way that we citizens can understand it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Ray Griffin?
Merry Christmas. God bless you.
Merry Christmas.
All right. I'm glad somebody remembered Christmas. Amen. Y'all doing a good job. Ray Griffin, Vanceboro, North Carolina. Last month we talked about alcohol and drinking, and some of you said we got to love everybody and do this, and then somebody said it was well regulated and different things. But I want you to know, instead of doing better, we have better regulations back 20, 30 years ago than today. In 1976, we had the Blue Law. And the Blue Law was stated on Sundays, everything was closed. Any alcohol establishment, no beer, no whatever. And thank God for them people that actually voted out, because they didn't know what they were doing and what was going to happen in the future. They seemed to think they knew more than God. Thank God for people like Roy Cooper, who signed in the legislation of the brunch bill, who has done nothing but expand the drinking anymore, drinking more than ever. Thank God for people like Roy Cooper that says he can do it his way and do his thing, and everything's going to be all right. Thank God for the aldermen that now have voted in the brunch bill. And we are regulating alcohol, how we regulate, but we're pushing it more and more every day. Brunch in the brunch bill so that now they can serve alcohol at 10 o'clock in the morning. Thank God for people like Roy Cooper that has abandoned all ideas of maturity and being moral and says abortion is okay, homosexual is okay, drinking is okay, do whatever you want to. So those people that voted for Roy Cooper, do you think you making Jesus happy with what he's done? And you folk profess to be Christians. And I looked up under some of the charters. Did you know your articles of faith? Some of you say you talk about drinking and different things. Read your article of faith. The Methodist Church says we oppose the sale and consumption of alcohol beverages within the confines of the church and recommend to be prohibited. We see the Baptists is simply saying that we should abstain from all evil appearances of alcohol. Stay sober. Church of God simply says that anything that has a habit of forming, we should stay away from. And yet you guys voted all this in. Do you read your articles of faith? What does the North Carolina Constitution say? We acknowledge an Almighty God. And you swore on the North Carolina Constitution today. You said you acknowledge an Almighty God. It says, and the Baptists say we should refrain from the handling or even the use of alcohol. If they're in a church, then they're not even supposed to be working in an establishment. And I asked you today, if they was to legalize marijuana, would you vote for that? Would you for it be put in? It may come one day to that. Alcohol is just as bad as marijuana. Alcohol now is killing just as many people as opioids. And now opioids is like killing like 40 people a day. And the thing about most people before they get on opioids, they start drinking, have some form of alcohol. No matter who is in control, our job does not change. The responsibility of our people is still the same, to stand on the truth and the infallible word of God. The Bible doesn't lie. You swore on that Bible. You took your article of creed. You know what your articles, if you don't know the articles of faith in your church, you need to read it. Because most of them will say abstain from all alcoholic beverages. We have created a problem. We haven't solved the problem. How are we gonna solve the problem? We're gonna have to do a lot of praying. Y'all gonna have to do a lot of serious thinking. You're gonna have to look at what you're voting for and what you're voting in. Because what you voted was against the Word of God, even if you, in your church. If you voted for articles of something other than whatever, drinking or whatever, you voted against your articles of faith. So where are you standing at today? Are you standing on the Word of God? Are you standing on your own conscience? What's the sad thing today, what do? We vote our pleasures and our pocketbooks. Anything that has to do with money, that's what counts in this whole world. It's a dollar. And sadly, dollars are killing souls. Have you looked at the AIDS awareness, how bad it hasn't changed? Opioids is bad, but we have conditions are the same today because they haven't been brought up in recent times. Amen and Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
James Hearns? Jamie? Forgive me, I'm so sorry. I didn't know if that was a middle name. Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, let me get on. Okay, how you doing? My name is Alderman-elect Jamie Harris. My address is 222 Monterey Circle, New Bern, North Carolina. So this is my first meeting, and the fact that the amendment, I'm speaking for the ERA, I don't have purple, has been, the fact that the amendment has been one that many have worked to get ratified for years is sad. There is so much that women have given this nation and the growth, there is so much that women have given for this nation and the growth of this country. There is no excuse for why this couldn't have been done a long time ago, especially if everyone truly believes that we are all created equal and deserving of equal rights. Why not put that belief in writing? How many more meetings must we sit at in purple to be heard? How many more times must we come and sit in meetings before our voices are heard and actions are taken? It's time out for just talking. Actions speak louder than words. We all need the action for you to show us that you believe that women are created equal. I feel like each and every one of you that are sitting up here wouldn't be here if it wasn't for women. So we deserve equal rights. So show us that you believe that we deserve equal rights.
Jody Lawrence? Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Jody Lonis, 202 Cindy Lane. Over the last 6 weeks, there's been something going on really big in social media you may have heard about called the Me Too movement. If you haven't heard about that, if you've turned on a TV, you've seen the Weinstein effect. I just think that I hope that you guys are paying attention to that and you realize how much women need your support and how much really is going on with women in this country that we're not getting support for. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes the list of individuals who had signed up for public comment this evening.
Okay. That will bring up the consent agenda, which consists of minutes of November 20th, tax releases, military resolution of the quarter. I have a motion to accept the consent
Second.
agenda. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Weiner,
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe,
Yes.
Commissioner Sampson,
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Dacey.
Yes.
Chairman Mark.
Yes. Department matters, Health, Nicole Sutton.
Good evening. I'm filling in for Scott Harrelson, the health director. Each year, the health department files a Medicaid cost report, and we send that off to DMA, which is the Division of Medical Assistance. And as a result, towards the end of the fiscal year, we receive, on average, about a $900,000 cost settlement payment. Back in 2015, DMA decided to change the way in which we complete the cost report. And not only did they change the way that it was completed, they also said we're going to backdate this all the way to fiscal year 2013. And in doing so, we had already submitted the report and we were paid for the report. When they came back and did the revision, they had originally told us we owed a little bit more than $500,000. And then all the health departments, there's 85 in North Carolina, and 82 out of 85 are in a payback situation. And what happened is, after going back and forth, DMA decided that we could take 5 variables and scrub the report. And those 5 variables were, let me go ahead and let you guys know real quick, was removal of duplicate claims, removal of laboratory codes, removal of OB associated charges, removal of health check associated charges, and removal of state supplied vaccines. Before, they wanted those in the report. Now they said take them out. So we went ahead and did that. And after we cleaned the report or scrubbed it, our cost settlement, our repayment, or our payment due to them is $30,000 versus the $524,000. So we're asking that we refund DMA the $30,000.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Okay. Discussion.
Mr. Chairman, can I add one thing for?
Yeah.
Ms. Sutton did a great job. This is something we talked about with the board. We were actually quite nervous of what the payback was going to be. We heard a lot of different variables over the years, and I think some of the commissioners actually went to Raleigh with some of the health staff and myself last year, and we talked about this. There were some counties that were in the multi-million-dollar payback claims. It was, I'm sure, frightening for them. I think Nicole and her staff over at the health department did a great job in pulling this down. It's not a perfect world. I wish it was 0. I think 30 is the best case scenario for us. And Nicole, I'm going to ask you, I don't know what we just received. I think it was a couple meetings ago. Was it $900,000 in cost settlement that went to fund balance? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So when you see a fund balance appropriation for $30,000, we're simply going to take money that we got from last year's that went into fund balance and apply that to this cost. And then we're square. This will be the end of this process for us.
Okay.
Well,
Steve.
Okay, this is for year 2013,
Yes.
and moving forward, where do we stand on any cost settlement?
So they changed the rule in 2015. So 2015, 16, 17, we're good to go. So they did have to backdate it. So you have your fiscal year 13, which we owe $30,000, and our fiscal year 14, it looks like they'll be giving us extra money. Because at the time, they only paid us 50% of the cost settlement, so we're still due the other 50. And the amount that we received for that year, 2014, was $572,000. So say hypothetically, we were to pay back $30,000, they'd still owe us another $500,000.
And if we had a citizen up here, I think he needed a little bit more background information just on like the term cost settlement. When you get, when the county health department gets reimbursed on Medicaid, I mean, do we file as our bills come in for Medicaid, or we file quarterly, or how?
So what
how
it
do they
is
do it?
each time a patient comes to the health department, they check out and we bill on a weekly basis. So whatever services were completed, whether it was a Medicaid patient, a Medicare patient, Blue Cross Blue Shield, any other insurance, or if they're self-pay, we have to report everything to DMA that says, okay, what % of the patients did you see were self-pay? Which of them had Medicare? Which of them had Medicaid? Who had dual insurance? And basically, Medicaid will pay us a reduced rate. So an office visit may cost, say, $100. Medicaid's going to pay us $30. And at the end of the year, they're going to take all of our expenses into consideration, and then they're going to pay us back, which is the settlement
That's the
amount.
settlement. Okay, so they look at, okay, Craven County Health Department, actual costs for serving some type of child health or I guess doing some type of test was X amount, but you only reimbursed us this month.
Correct.
So then they're saying, we're going to hold you harmless, and we're going to, that's the cost of it. Is that,
Yes.
is that how you see it? Okay.
Vice Chair Scott?
Commissioner Tyson was kind enough to take care of all the questions that I had. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? We have a roll call vote, please.
Commissioners Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Reiner.
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe.
Yes.
Commissioner Sampson.
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Dacy.
Yes.
Chairman Mark.
Yes.
Did you need the update on the FQHC?
Yeah.
May I, before, just so I keep up my notes, when we authorized the Havelock FQHC, the board asked for an update
Correct.
before the end of the year. So I asked Mr. Harrelson and Ms. Sutton will do it tonight. This is the requested update for this board.
So as he had mentioned, I'm sorry, what is your name? So as Al James mentioned earlier, he did note that we hired a fourth provider, and that is correct right now for the FQHC that specializes in adult primary care and child health. Right now, we have a child health program in Newbern, and we have an adult primary program in Newbern. And then in Havelock, we have one provider that sees both adult and children. So right now, you're talking about 3 providers, and what we're finding is if one of them's sick or want to be on vacation, we have to limit the scheduling. So we've hired a part-time nurse practitioner. She just started November 13th. So she will be the fill-in wherever we need her. She'll be either in Havelock, she'll be here in Newbern. She specializes in children and adult primary care. She's a recent graduate of Duke University. So we're glad to have her on board. We've looked at the FQHC in Havelock and found that the nurse practitioner, Dawn McCabe, she works very well with our office manager. Her name's Serena Cruz. And she's able to see about 20 to 22. One day she saw 32 patients. So there's real good communication in Havelock. And we found that their no-show rate is 15% versus Newbern, our no-show rate's about 30%. So what we're finding out is we're trying to implement what it is that they're doing in Havelock so we can get the same in Newbern.
Nicole, talk to the board.
Oh, I'm sorry. So we're trying to figure out, we're going to implement some of the policies that they're doing there. They're always making sure they call the day before. If they miss the appointment by 15 minutes, they're calling to see, hey, did you realize you had an appointment? If you can come in later, we'd be glad to see you. So it's been working really well.
Okay. Any discussion by any of the commissioners?
Well, Mr. Chairman, if I could, there was some concern about some of these numbers. You were here earlier. Can you give us, for example, the
Missing months?
let's start with the missing months.
I would imagine.
Commissioners,
I do not have that.
when I went through my packet, actually something must have got wrong in the correlation. It's, you'll see there's 2 pages in your packet, they're not in line, but they actually match up if you hold them like that. I think it was an Excel sheet that just didn't copy over correctly when it was downloaded. But you'll see that March, April, May, and June are on the second page, and then the first page.
And there's
We didn't get it.
and there's a page that's in between it.
Correct, there's a page that's in between, and those 2 pages, if you look at them, if you hold them together, actually match up.
Yeah.
So it's a formatting error in the agenda, and I apologize for that, something I didn't
Okay.
catch as we went through.
Okay.
That answer your question?
Yes, yes, that question.
Commissioner Lyon?
Okay, I guess, now, if I can just backtrack a little bit. The theory here that we had in moving forward on the FQHC was that we were seeing a population movement going to the hospital emergency department to get service. We recognized that that was a very costly method to treat health ailments. And so when presented with a series of facts, a series of data that we believe to have been factual, we ultimately came to the conclusion that putting a FQHC in Newbern was the right thing to do. Over a period of time, we started to recognize that there was an underserved population in Havelock. There was also a problem because some of the services that would be provided to the people in the Havelock area could only be picked up on the base itself. And that if we were able to work out an agreement, we could bring some of those services off the base, allowing those services to be more readily utilized by the population in Havelock. We also checked with the private service providers, the physicians that were working both in Newbern and in Havelock, to make certain that we would not be encroaching upon their ability to perform in a good business environment, that we wouldn't be poaching their clients. I just want to set the stage. I believe that that's the decision-making process that this board went through. It's also my understanding that there have been a significant decrease of people that have been going to the emergency department at the hospital and now have been seen at our FQHC facilities. Is that an accurate understanding of the facts?
Yes, it is. Originally, the WIC department, the WIC program was on base. So with us opening up the FQHC in Havelock, it allowed people that did not have access to get on base to come to the WIC Havelock office. So we're not trying to promote people or try to get people to sign up for WIC. It's just that they couldn't make the trip to New Bern, and they also couldn't get on base. So us having the WIC tied in with the FQHC has increased the numbers there. We weren't trying to promote WIC by any means. And also, you're talking about the ER visits. It
Yeah.
has gone down significantly. Dr. May is on our FQHC board, and he has noticed the difference. What else was there?
Well, I guess it's also been my position that this has been an option for those families that may have high deductibles under the Obamacare plans, that they would have an ability to go to a healthcare provider based upon a sliding fee schedule that may be more adequate for them in their financial position. Is that accurate?
That's correct. Sometimes we do I wish I had the fee schedule with me, but I'll just be hypothetical in what I'm saying right now. You could have like an adult patient with 2 children, and you look at the salary that person makes, and they can slide on the sliding fee scale, which means if our office visit was $124 and they made under the 200% sliding fee scale, they would be charged a reduced rate, and their rate would be $15 per visit. So we would cut out that $124 visit and mark it down to $15. So it is more affordable, and we're finding that the adult primary care patients, about 50% of them are self-pay because they are getting that reduced rate.
Thank you very much.
Going back to Vice Chair's comments on there, Havelock has grown. Keep in mind also, when we started this, over 220 WIC patients were coming to New Bern from the Havelock area and the Harlow area, trying to get up here. Now they have access to Havelock, which is outstanding. And it's grown a little bit because people have gotten the word out. If you're down in Havelock, I recommend you stop in and see how they operate now. The place has always got people in it. It's always well received by the community. The biggest one was the WIC bringing it off base to where we can serve the whole public and not a certain segment that had the process. We were given, WIC was under our control aboard the base, but our community as a whole was not able to get the service unless they traveled anywhere from 45 to 28 miles up here to New Bern. Second thing I want to make a comment. Yes, in reality, we've grown this by this one person, but it's needed because she's not hired for Havelock. She's technically not hired for New Bern. She's working out of New Bern's office unless Dawn is gone as a rotating shift. And otherwise, we would be lost one side or the other. We wouldn't be able to see any patients while somebody is on leave. So it's a service. If we're going to provide it for the community, I think it's worth it, and it's paying for itself, as you can see from the results. It's well paying for itself.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes. Mr. Sampson.
I'd just like to say that this place at Havelock, I know my grandson had to go back to school Monday, but his appointment at the health center was Friday, and he couldn't get in the health center because I called the county manager and told him how problematic it was for him to get in down there, and so what happened? My daughter had already called to Havelock to see did they have could she get an apartment down there, because he couldn't go back to school until he got his examination. So I was glad that she was able to go down there so he could return to school and not be behind, that he could keep up with the other kids. So, and a lot of people just don't have the transportation to get to different places. A lot of people don't realize that unless they are caught up in it. But I realize we all need assistance in some things. And I think this place down there is doing a magnificent job. And that's what we're here for, to see that our citizens get good care.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Commissioner Jones?
Yes, sir. If I may, as your representative on the health board, one of the concerns that I know our board has had, and we discuss it at most of our health board meetings, is competition for the private sector. We have two of the largest medical providers that sit on our health board, one being the hospital. You have representation from them. You also have a representation from Coastal Carolina Healthcare. And we ask, are you seeing a competition? Is it affecting your practices in any negative way? And both have said no. That's a question that we continue to ask, and they say it has been a tremendous help. And they continue, both of these health providers continue to support it by their representation on that board. So I just state that as information for the board.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones. Ms. Sutton, you've done an excellent job at explaining that. One thing, though, if you could, would you explain what the WIC program is for our television audience and the audience that's here?
The WIC program helps provide food to children, basically from newborn to age 4. I mean, once they're born, if they're within a certain income amount and they need services, they need food for the children, we provide it.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Good job. Next are appointments, current, pending, and upcoming. Appointments be effected immediately unless otherwise specified. Pending appointments, adult care home. At this point, there's no additional appointments. Emergency medical services. We have a James Zeckman, 2010, wishes to continue serving. Do I have a motion to accept him?
Move to accept.
Okay. I think that does it, huh? Oh, yeah, Craven County Health Board. We have,
Mr. Chairman,
yes, Commissioner Jones.
as you see in your packet, Ms. Roseanne Leahy is not eligible to be reappointed as a representative from the hospital as the nurse. The hospital has talked to Mr. Jim Davis from the hospital, and he is qualified to serve in this position. I'd like to nominate him and also to nominate Mrs. Janelle Butts, a pharmacist at Carolina East at the hospital also, who is eligible to serve another term.
Okay. Thank you. Paul Gaskins was appointed in 2008, so we need to have an appointment there. And Ronald Preston was 2011, position needs to be replaced.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
once again, I would just state that in my conversation with Scott Harrelson before I left, he is in conversation, I think, with CCHC because Dr. Preston came from CCHC, and also trying to find another representative from that facility. And also he is looking, and the health board is looking for a public representative. So hopefully you'll have somebody for the next board meeting.
Okay, thank you. Havelock Craven County Library Board.
no objections from Commissioner McKay, we'll hold that till the next meeting.
Okay. New Bern Craven Library Board.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move that Carter Ann Rollins be reappointed.
Okay. Appointed by acclamation. Vanceboro Craven County Library Board. I will move to have Joan Singleton Bryant reappointed. Commissioners' appointments coming up for January. We have the current appointments for commissioners. I think I'll table that until our next meeting. So give me a chance to go over that. Upcoming appointments for January would be the Craven Community Child Protection Team. Sandra Kuhn. And then that's it. County Attorney's Report.
Mr. Chairman, I have nothing to report on tonight.
Okay. County Manager's Report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate the opportunity to present before the board tonight. I have 3 items. First, last meeting, Commissioner Dacey asked for an update on the opioid awareness program that we've since had a leadership forum on back in September. We've also been progressing nicely, having meetings with that group following. We did a hot wash of that meeting with the staff that put it together and some community members who have participated. I think the outcomes of that were very good. One of the things that that group tackled was the need for an ongoing effort by the county to promote the items that came out of the opioid leadership forum and to put an action stage with this. As you're aware, there has been a little group that's been put together by the chairman of leadership. That would be himself, Tyler Harris, who formerly worked at Cherry Point, but is a community member, and the health director, Scott Harrelson. I met with that group last week. We further identified this task force concept, and I think the chairman and I wanted to present it to you tonight for approval. What we'd like to do is put together a group of people from the community, a diverse group, a lot like the folks who attended the forum, and focus on 4 key categories. One of them is education and prevention, how we prevent the problem, how we educate the public about the problem, and how we move forward with ways that will prevent children and young adults from becoming addicted to opioids. Treatment, which is a broad concept of how do we, when someone's in crisis in our county with addiction, how do we provide a treatment option to them? Because currently the network is so thin, we're having to go significantly far outside of our community to receive any type of treatment. Basically what we have now is crisis intervention on the ground. We've talked to you a lot about mental health issues. Substance abuse is sort of in the same basket. We're really good at identifying it, but what problems, once you identify that crisis, where do you go next? And that's what that group needs to tackle. Enforcement, first responders. I think there's been some great news on the enforcement angle. I think this board stepped up a couple months ago or last month in dealing with the sheriff and some items he needed. We've also participated in the Narcan program, what's new for our county. But there's a lot of other things that first responders and law enforcement need. And this committee would look at those and how we can develop partnerships which exist in our county, but maybe even cross borders and deal with some of our neighboring counties where these opioids are crossing those boundaries. And lastly is an outreach component which would take all the things from the first 3 categories and push that out to the public. As we've had our community meetings within the commissioners' districts, as we followed up with some opioid meetings in other districts, we keep hearing we can't find any information. We don't know where to go. And we think that committee would tackle that issue and take those resources that are developed. And we already have some really, I think, some good materials. The brochure that a lot of you've seen that the health department put out with CSAP. Unfortunately, we need to put more stuff in that brochure. That's going to be our mission. I can tell you from the meeting last week, that group was very excited. They're very motivated to move on this issue. We all understand this is not going to be something that we're going to solve overnight, but we're certainly going to take bites out of the whole as we move along. We've brainstormed some names for each of the committees. I think this is going to be basically asking those folks and who's available and willing to spend the time. And we've heard from some folks that they are. What I think we're looking for from the commissioners tonight is an endorsement of this concept and allow this leadership committee to move forward, put these committees together, and begin work and report back to this body periodically as they move forward.
Yeah.
Commissioner Mark,
Yeah, I think that's what we should do. We'd like the consensus by the other commissioners that this would be the way to go. I'm definitely committed to this. I mean, the opioid crisis that we have in this county is horrendous, and we've got to do something about it. And we've got a lot of people. We held a opioid meeting in Vanceboro, in which we had Scott Thomas, the superintendent of schools, myself, Commissioner Jones, and the district attorney. I mentioned him. Who else did we have?
Sheriff.
The sheriff, which was important. And he is very much in favor of getting involved in this program. So I think that what we've set up here, and we did a lot of work the other day.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe the amount of time that we spent on this and how much we accomplished. And we'll be meeting again, I believe, is it this Friday or the next Friday?
15th.
The 15th. We'll be meeting on the 15th. But thank you for all your help, because you've done a lot of work on this
Well,
as a
like-
county manager.
Like you said, sir, every time you meet, you learn something new. I've just been introduced to this whole concept of Vivitrol, which is something I never even heard about till last week, and what a path that's taken. Certainly Pamlico County's having a lot of success there with their sheriff and their jail and the private sector and being able to fund that. So, I mean, I think we're at the point now where we got to start going down the path of those options and figure out what's right for us.
Our biggest problem in the future is going to be treatment centers.
Yes, sir.
That's the real problem.
Most everything on this list is relatively inexpensive. I mean, relative. The big ticket item is the detox facility, the short term and the long term. But there's partnerships for that.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner Sampson.
I'd like to say that in our reentry program, this was sort of the foundation to this opioid crisis. Also, I know when we went to Cleveland, they began to talk about opioid, but we hadn't even heard it much about it down here. And I was telling them about the reentry that we had down here, and they was very enthused of how we had organized everything. And I wanted to make sure that no one is left out. Reentry, that's where the groundwork began with their, it began with the marijuana. And then it keeps stepping up. Different types of drugs they begin to take, calling how much money you can afford to pay for it. But if we get it to the foundation, then after we clean up the top, we won't have to go back down to the bottom. And I know that reentry is really moving along. I talked to one of the young ladies the other day. She was telling me that they had been donated a home there on First Avenue for the women's. And you know, we have a lot of women's involved also in this drug crisis. So we need to make sure that we get everyone that's in the system that needs help. We don't want to leave anyone out that want help. It's a job. I know it's a job, because I know how hard I've been working trying to get it started. It's been a hard way to go getting this reentry started. So, and that's where we began to build with this opioid. And I'm really interested in trying to not let no one go lacking. And I know it's gonna be hard, because a lot of people got to be involved to reach all these different types of people. Because some people you can't reach, because some I can't reach themselves.
Yeah.
So, but all of us working together, we ought to be able to cover everybody.
It's certainly, Mr. Sampson, I think just a comment I'd have to you, we've done some research, the opioid crisis doesn't discriminate. It's got a wide range of folks who are affected by it. I mean, at the meeting in Vanceboro the other night, it's young, old, race, gender. I mean, it seems like everybody is having a challenge with this. And I think the problem we're seeing is when families get into crisis, we saw a couple that were there the other night, it's very moving, they don't know where to go. And I think that the county's role in situations like this is to find that. answer. Exactly. And if we can't produce it, we'll find someone that will. And I think that's when you have these committees together, we'll certainly grasp the resources that are out there.
Yeah. And the thing that has helped us is now an awareness in the county that there is a crisis, and we're working towards at least relieving a little part of that crisis.
I mean, my wake-up call was in July. We were 5th in the state in overdoses.
That's
Craven
right.
County, 5th in the state. And, you know, I was driving to lunch with Mr. Hodges one day, and we see an active overdose on the side of the road. I mean, that's something I wasn't accustomed to seeing. That's just me. Certainly started opening my eyes to it. But if I saw a consensus, Mr. Chairman, I'll take that as we'll press forward. Thank you and the committee for their leadership on this. I do have some good news tonight. We had several presentations from planning staff about some community development block grant money that was coming down from disaster recovery. I was fearful that with some of the things that happened across the United States this past summer that we may be overlooked. I did get word last week that I think we're going to qualify for about $1 million in disaster recovery money through that program. I want to thank Don and his staff. I don't think he's here tonight, and the folks at Holland. They really worked hard, and that was something that we certainly didn't anticipate.
We didn't expect
but
that.
the state has come through. That's, of course, federal money that came down to the state, and they've determined how that money would be given. We applied, I believe it's 11 different households that will receive some type of modification to avoid further claims. I mean, that's what that money comes from, to mitigate and recover. So I want to make the board aware of that. I'll fill you in. I have a conference call tomorrow. It's kind of moving pretty fast, so you may see something on your agenda next meeting for that as we move forward. One of my favorite events of the year is coming up on December 12th. I want to make sure the board's reminded we'll have our Employee Service Awards. We recognize employees with tenure in Craven County that have done a great job for us. I think we have a couple 40-year tenures this year. We tend to have one. I'm not sure, Mr. Antry's probably coming up on 50 years pretty soon. I think he was 45 at the last one. That was several years ago. But we do have some long-tenured employees that do a great job for us every day, and we'd like to recognize them. So that's December 12th at 2 o'clock at the Convention Center. Do that. And I'm really excited tonight. I'm going to ask this person to stand. I hope I don't embarrass her. But our new deputy clerk is on board. This is her very first day. We rewarded her with a commissioner meeting tonight. We're excited to have her. She is Nan Holton. She is the former clerk to the town of Trent Woods. She's got a lot of experience. She's worked for the Council of Governments here in town, and we're just excited to have her. She's been shadowing Gwen all day, so I know she's tired because Gwen's certainly a busy person. But we're very happy to have her in our office and look forward to working with her. And I know the board's excited to meet her. So that's all I have. If you have items, I'd be happy to address them at this time.
Commissioner, have an item that?
No. Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Commissioner's report, and I'll start with Commissioner Jones because I don't want his phone bill to get too high.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the understanding of the board for me calling in tonight. I am in Greensboro at our annual North Carolina Farm Bureau Federation convention. One of the other responsibilities I have as president of Craven County Farm Bureau. Today we had an eventful day of meetings. U.S. Senator Tom Tillis, U.S. Representative David Rouser, U.S. Representative Ted Budd, North Carolina Senator Brent Jackson, and our Secretary of Agriculture, Steve Troxler, were all here and spoke to us. We've got a big crowd here, and I will be here until tomorrow night. And so, again, I'm thankful to staff for allowing me to not have to drive home tonight and come right back. Just two other things to bring before the board. Our opioid meeting that we did have last week that the chairman and myself sponsored together at West Craven High School, I think it went well. It was very touching to see some of the folks that stood up and, as the county manager stated, said, I'm here looking for somebody to help me and show me, give me some direction in how I can help my child. There are a lot of situations in this county of people that are searching and reaching out for assistance and help. And I commend the chairman and our board of commissioners for what you've done so far, and I think we've got a lot more to do, and I think we're all committed to work together to accomplish that. Last thing I will share with the board is information. I know there's a lot of Christmas parades that have been going on, but the town of Coast City, we will have our Christmas parade next Sunday, December the 10th at 3 p.m. Lineup begins at 2 o'clock. And I invite all the board to attend. And also the town of Dover will have their Christmas parade on December the 16th at 2 p.m. And I'd love to have any of you to come out. And that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Jones.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, Commissioner Jones, this is Scott Dacey. I want you to be able to hang up, but I did want you to know that this evening, the West New Bern Fire Department had their Christmas event, their dinner, and I just wanted you to know that we talked a lot about you and all the outstanding work that you do with the fire departments throughout the county, and you were missed this evening, and I just want to thank you very much for all of your service in that regard.
Thank you, sir. And the last thing, and I will sign off, Mr. Chairman, if you allow me. I have another event to attend that started at 8 o'clock. But I do commend yourself and Vice Chairman Dacey. I look forward to working with you for 2018. Hope you have a good evening.
Thank you. Commissioner Tyson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the Metropolitan Planning Organization. We had our last meeting of the year last week. And the Metropolitan Planning Organization is a relatively new planning department here in Craven County. And it was formed because it had to be formed by law when a municipality reaches a certain population threshold, you have to form an organization, a metropolitan planning organization. And part of the funding comes from the federal government. The vast majority of it comes from the federal government, but it's also, you get contributions from the county, City of New Bern, City of River Bend, City of Trent Woods, and I think that is all of them. But anyhow, the purpose of that, of this particular organization is to plan for the future. And one of the things that we accomplished last year was to have a 40-year study done of the roadways in the metropolitan area, but it also really included the entire county. Lack of planning in the past resulted in a lot of problems that now are way more expensive to fix. The highway going right through Havelock, highway going through the city of New Bern for years and years, highways going through James City. Those things came about largely because of lack of planning, and now they're having to be fixed, and it's very, very expensive to do. But with this 40-year plan that we did, it should help those type of problems from occurring in the future. Some of the things that are happening in roadways now or in the immediate future that I think everybody should be aware of, I'll go ahead and tell you some of the things, and I'll probably leave off a bunch because I didn't make my notes. But the Havelock bypass, George, might happen in our lifetime. And in fact, I think they'll probably start construction in the next few years on that project, which will loop Highway 70 around Havelock. So if you're going to the port or going to the beach, you avoid all the stoplights in Havelock. Highway 17 from Antioch Road up to 43 to the Warehouser Road is funded now, I believe, and construction should start in the next few years. Construction on highway projects takes forever, it seems like, but you have to go through a very tedious environmental impact study when you do almost any kind of roadway project now, and some of them, like in the case of Havelock, took 5, 6, 7 years to do. The James City project is going to be a big one, and I believe we're going to start buying right-of-way within the next year in James City. And that road will include improvements from as you come across the Trent River Bridge into James City all the way down to Thurman Road. It's going to be a tough project, I can tell you that right now. There's no easy way to do what they want to do there and not interrupt the busiest roadway, I think, in Craven County. So it's going to take several years to do it. But that project is funded, right-of-way will start, right-of-way acquisition will start within the next year, and then probably construction will start in 19 or 20, I think. And it's gonna take several years, but when it's done, you're gonna be able to go across Trent River Bridge and go all the way down to Thurman Road. Really, you won't have any stoplights until you get into Carter County.
You
when
got
the- when
6
the Havelock-
interchanges now.
When the Havelock bypass is done, so that's a big improvement. It's a very costly project, but it will greatly benefit this county economically after that's done. I think Chairman Mark somehow or another, using some kind of a political influence of chairman, was able to get Broad Creek Road widened, and that, and I appreciate you doing that, Mr. Chairman. That one really needs to be done. I'm picking on him because politicians have minimal influence on roads now in the way that the scoring system's done. Boy, I'm talking a lot. I'm gonna shorten this up right now. The Highway 17 project, Pollocksville bypass, is well underway. It'll be completed in a couple of years. You'll be able to go to Jacksonville and not hit any stoplights. A lot of good things happening. Some of it has been the result of the MPO, and the chairman that they have for the MPO has had a lot to do with that, I'm sure, Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
I won't say who that is, Mr. Chairman. And that concludes my report.
Commissioner Liner.
Oh, thank you, sir. Few things. First of all, I'd like to thank the city of Havelock, and Commissioner McCabe and myself attended the 50th year for the Havelock Fire and Rescue Organization, being down there last Friday, right? Yeah, last Friday. Great event put on. Tandem lock. If you're in the city of Havelock at the fire department, check and see how they built a stand for the bell. It's amazing of what tandem lock can do. It was a great event. The 16th of December is the Havelock Christmas Parade. Unfortunately, I will not be available for that. I will be attending and working with Wreaths Across America at the National Cemetery on that day. I think that's important. All the citizens out there should, if you have someone there or do not have someone there, they've got a good collections of wreaths this year, a lot more than we've had in the previous years. And there's some organizations, and I normally don't do this, but Mr. James and his family have stepped up and done some things that we've gotten some good showings out there for the wreaths. And it's gonna be a time, I think this community will see a wreath at every 7,800 graves at the National Cemetery. If we don't make it this year, I know we're gonna get close to it. So if you're available on the 16th, I think that's at noontime, somewhere, don't hold me to that, but right at noontime, we'll start that process there on that. If you're down in Havelock on the 15th of December, Cherry Point 2nd Marine Aircraft Wing Band is putting on their Christmas concert, and that's an open house. Only thing I'd recommend is you get there early, because seats go fast. There's only got 1,782 seats in that theater. So you need to go for that. And I'll cut this short, but we have, huh?
Havelock Parade?
Havelock Parade, I said that.
Oh, okay.
The 16th, yeah. The other one, we have another championship in Havelock on the football team for the Eastern Region. We've got that. We got a big game Saturday in Durham, Charlotte Catholic, semi-pro team. So, and I say that because they can recruit all the way from South Carolina to Virginia. They're a private school, so it's going to be a tough game, but Havelock is up for it, and we should all be very proud for what they represent in the county. And at that, I'll shut up.
Thank you, Commissioner Liner. Commissioner McCabe.
And George Lund took most of my words. Anyway, I'd like to say that my family and I had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and I'm sure that everyone also had a good Thanksgiving and a blessed one. Also, George and I also attended that meeting that the chair was talking about, the opioid meeting. You attended that meeting also. The game, like I said, the game is Saturday. I would like to attend, but we have on our fire department dinner celebration that evening at 6 o'clock. The ball game was supposed to be at 11 o'clock that Saturday. Then it would be better for me, but they changed it, so. Unfortunately, I won't be able to attend. I'd like to go. And also, attend the, like George said, want to go attend the Havelock Fire and Rescue dinner in Havelock Tourist Center, where our guest speaker was the North Carolina Insurance Commissioner. He made quite a wonderful presentation there about the insurance. And also, George and I attended the Christmas dinner on base Friday night. Myself, another young lady, and another couple went there. It was her birthday, so the band played a birthday song for her. And after that, myself, along with Lieutenant Colonel, some of the colonels got up and sung a song, Silence Night. And he started off, he gave me the mic, and I finished it. And you want my autograph, listen to the song, I give you my autograph, not now, tonight, some other time. And it was a good, I got it on video. So it was a good time, and look, food was good, we had a very good time, George and I and his wife. Also, the dinner at the Fire Rescue in Vansboro dinner award was really nice. Myself and Johnny Sampson, he came later on with his family, and the food was outstanding. It was really nice. Also, like George Lana mentioned a while ago about the Christmas parade in Havelock. George will not be there, but his heart will be there, and I will be attending, and I will be walking and handing out candy to the kids and also to the grown-ups, because they want candy also. And also, I went to a river cutting at the women's shelter on Highway 7 last week, and they got clothes there where it's very reasonable for people to buy. And if any of you have any clothes home that you don't need, please go by the women's shelter. I forgot the address, but it's on Highway 70 in James City on the right-hand side going out towards Havelock, and donate some clothes. You can claim with income tax and stuff like that. So I'm going to try to find some clothes, my daughter clothes and some other people's clothes, and donate to them. It's a good cause. And by giving, God going to bless you. It ain't always about receiving, because God can give you more than what you gave. So giving is very important. And give from your heart. Don't give to impress nobody, because you're not going to make it. Give from your heart. And God is good all the time. When you sleep, up in the morning, doesn't matter. Pray constantly, because this world is getting dangerous out here today. There's a lot of violence, drugs, shooting in the churches, in the schools, no matter where you are. It's very hard to live. So we all have to get outside and pray to one another. And you don't have to pray in church. You can pray in your house, in the woods, in your car while you're traveling. God say, I see you, hear you. Let me see if I see something else. Let me sure I don't miss nothing. Mr. Chair, I believe that's all as of now. If I do remember something, I'll come back. Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to interrupt here for a minute. A critical part of that singing group was left out. Vice Chair Stacy and his wonderful wife had a great time there.
Oh,
I'm
yes.
sure of that. But here's Mr. Soprano here. Is a great singer. Between the three of us, I wouldn't recommend hiring us.
No.
To sing.
But George, you
But
sound
we
a
had-
little bit.
We had fun.
Yeah, George is also in the video. Not as much. He wasn't singing, but he was lip singing. He did not know the song Silence Night. You know. But
Well,
anyway, we have a good time.
After you said that, Commissioner Liner, I don't think I'll ask for his autograph. Commissioner Sampson.
Okay, that'll work.
Yes, I'd like to say I attended the newborn parade on Saturday. I'm on Friday. And I mean, just as I got ready to put my signs on and it started raining. And it rained right on up till it was time for the parade to begin. And I could see the little children and grown-ups coming out from everywhere. And when we got downtown, it was a great line of people and everybody was enjoying themselves. I like to see people come together and show their concerns and show their togetherness in the city of New Bern and Craven County. And they was out there now. A lot of people stayed home, but it looked like didn't miss them because it was a crowd of people along the runway, all upside the sidewalk, all halfway in the street. And it was outstanding. Kids enjoyed themselves. And I just hope for most of the kids that I saw was just about ones that's in New Bern and surrounding area. So many people's out there, and all the streets were loaded. And this is Christmas time. They say it's giving, but giving time all year round. But it looks like people start giving more in the Christmas time than the real all year round. But we want to practice giving all year round. But I enjoyed it, and I know the merchants in this city enjoyed it because their income went up. So that's what it's all about, helping one another. And it was outstanding. Then our Sunday, I went to church. I wasn't planning on going over to the parade at Trentwood, because I was already tired. Then my wife come home and said, you ready to go? I said, go where? Said, you going to the parade? I said, good gracious, I had forgot all about it. So the grandboy, he was ready. Put him in the little seat there and tied him down, and we took off to Trentwood. And I tell you, so many people out there. I was glad I went, though. I tell you, it was so many people out there, and they were throwing out candy, and my wife and my grandson were throwing out, then they give out the candy. She had peanuts in there, so she started throwing some peanuts out there. And everybody, I tell you, I bet you I was riding for 2 hours in Trentwood. I looked like we went to every street in Trentwood. But it was really nice. People enjoying themselves. And all about the golf course. People on the golf course come out there to see the parade. And I hope we could stay together like that all the time, because people seem like they love one another. And if we could show that love, not just Christmas time, but all through the year, I tell you, you couldn't beat this kind of nowhere. And I really enjoyed it. And I thank my wife for letting me know I need to go out there, because she knew I was tired, but she wasn't even thinking about it. She don't know that I'm tired or no, because she working half to death anyway. So, and it was outstanding. I never been down them in the streets over there in Trentwood. In fact, I didn't know Trentwood that big. But I met a lot of people that I knew and knew me, and we need to come together and know each other, no doubts about it, because we don't never know when we're going to need somebody. And more people you know, the more you might meet to help you. So it was outstanding, and I enjoyed it very much. I saw my buddy Tyson up there, old Chuck.
Not me.
You say Chuck?
Chuck. I saw Chuck up there. He had a little car with the top down. I drove up there to the parade, and he standing in the street. I said, now that's because you were mad. Don't say nobody can't run over you now. we get along pretty good. Me and Chuck used to have a time down on the board. But we still friends, and it was just outstanding. They had a nice parade prepared for the citizens of Trentwood. Also, I'll change gears here. And I'd like to say something about about our water plant. And this is something that seemed like it's a miracle at the time of water shortage. we come up with a water plant, which cost us $31 million. It seems like you can't hear many people talk about what a good job that was, because water is something you can't live without. And a lot of people don't have the use of water of their own, they have to buy it. Upstate, up around Raleigh, we almost had a case up there, people, the city suing cities because the city had signed a contract with another city to supply water, then there would come a water shortage, and they didn't want to supply the water, so they were about to go to court. So we are blessed to have such a dynamic water plant in our county. 31 million gallons, $31 million. I'd like everybody to write that down so they can see where some of that taxpayer money went. 31 million is a lot of money. But if we did it, our rating was over about 15 years we've been planning till the plant come to fruition. And a lot of people didn't even know we was doing that. But it's out there now, so we can feel comfortable that we do have water and we have some that we could share with somebody else. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, excuse me, I did forgot something. I did let you know in the past. I did attend the Turkey Creek Middle School last week, and the principal gave me a card by being there, and it says, "Dear Mr. McKay, thank you so much for taking time out on your busy day to join us on our Principal Honor Roll Celebration Day. I enjoyed speaking with you and looking forward to working with you in the future. Best wishes for you and have a happy Thanksgiving." And that's from the new principal at the middle school in the Hale Block. So she went there. George wouldn't be able to make it because he had other obligation. Otherwise, he also would have been there. And it's a beautiful school. If you ever want to go to middle school in Turkey Creek, it's a very good school, and she's a wonderful person to talk to. So I want everybody to know that I did go there and participate in that celebration for the kids. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Vice Chairman Dacey.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. First of all, I want to thank my colleagues for their willingness to accept me as vice chair again for another year. Put up with me, but thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, a lot has been said this evening. I'll just let it go as it stands. And Commissioner Sampson, thank you very much for coming to Trent Woods, and you're welcome to come knock on doors with me any old time. We'd appreciate having you in Trent Woods any old time. Mr. Chairman, thank you very much.
Thank you. And I, too, want to thank the board for asking me to be chairman again. I also would like to thank those two young ladies over there who are deputies from the sheriff's department.
Give them a hand, please.
It's their job to keep us safe, and they do a good job of it. With that, I would call for adjournment.
Adjourn. That's it.